All-Star Western number 18, written by Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti, art by Moritat. Last issue, we had a virus, I think it's a cholera, but it's basically a zombie virus going around Gotham. Whole section of the city's walled off, and Vandal Savage kidnapped Catherine Wayne, I think it was, and Jonah was sent in to go rescue her. So they're being chased, Jonah and Dr. Arkham, by a bunch of these sick people, and they're trying to make their way to a safe place. Yes, it was Catherine Wayne, by the way. And so they see a bar nearby, and Jonah's like, all right, that place will be safe. We got to get in there. And Arkham's like, this is hardly the time for a drink. And so he's like, I hate you, Arkham. And he grabs him, throws him in through the window, tells him to find a trap door underneath a rug behind the bar. And Arkham's like, I can't believe this was here. I've lived in this city for all my life. How did you know this was here? And Arkham's like, and Hex just tells him to shut up. And as they make their way down there, they close the lid. They're finally safe. And we see down there is a dwarf, I guess, named Blackburn, who's got a gun trained on Hex. And he's like, oh, hey, didn't expect you to be here, Hex. What's up? And Blackburn asks Hex if this is like a rescue thing. He's like, nope, I actually just came here to try to stay safe. Good to see you, though, Blackburn. And they're looking for Catherine. Blackburn has no idea what's going on. He's been down here for a month, along with this lady who I think they name her Mill. She's got a child swaddled up in rags, but then as it's revealed later, when all this disease broke out, her actual baby died, and this is just a doll that is meant to stop her from grieving, which, questionable morals there. But either way, Blackburn, Hex, and Arkham make their way to a back room in order to talk. And Hex is like, all right, I need a few bottle of booze. Can you give me anything? And he's like, nope, not really. But I'll give you everything you can carry if you can get us out of here. And Hex is like, nah, no good. Can't do that. So Blackburn's like, all right, look, I can give you some German hunting pistols, which are just normal pistols with swords on the ends, it seems, because this guy is actually like a gun runner, and he had someone in Gotham to sell to, but now they're dead, so it's just dead weight for him. So he's willing to give it up for Hex in return for something. I'm genuinely unsure as to what. But regardless, we see that Vandal Savage is taking Catherine. He's planning on taking her out of the city under cover of a blizzard, and basically saying like, I want you to convince your husband to give us all of his assets in return for you. And she's like, my husband will never do that. That's stupid for you even suggesting. It's like, fair. I'll kill your husband then, and I'll take his assets. And he's like, it's not going to work. What do you want? And he's just like, oh, I have a plan for power among these United States. So at that point, a bunch of wolves start attacking. And Vandal's like, oh yeah, this is my kind of town. This is what I'm up to. And he starts slashing at them with a sword and basically monologuing to Catherine saying, oh, I've seen things you wouldn't imagine. I am older than you could possibly deal with. I have fathered more children and I have outlived all of them. And I'm wondering why you and your husband never fathered any children. I'm hoping it's because he's infertile, so that way you can have one of my children. And Catherine's like, you're a creep, man. So she goes off running as he's fighting off the wolves. She sees some dead bodies frozen underneath the ice and freaks out. And then Arkham comes up and grabs him, being like, hey, we got you. You're safe. We got to go now, though. And as they're running the way out, and it turns out Blackburn and Mill did accompany them, Vandal shows up and just be like, hey, you killed a lot of people, Savage. And he's like, yeah, they were in my way. And Hex tells him, well, you're in my way now. It's like, oh, okay, well, let's see how you do it. So he fires off a few shots at Savage. Savage deflects them with a sword and is like, I could have chosen to deflect those back into your body, Hex. You can't possibly outfight me. I'm greater than you could possibly imagine. And then Hex just fires off a shotgun and it lands in Vandal's chest. And he's like, all right, well, shut up. So he picks up Vandal's sword, takes it with him, and they get out of... They get Catherine to safety. So then we see that the body of Vandal Savage is taken to a pile of dead bodies who all died of the virus. But of course, he didn't die. He comes back to life, and we don't know where he goes after that. But then, some days pass. We go back to Arkham's mansion. Arkham's looking for Jonah, but he's nowhere to be found. He goes to his mother, and the mother's like, "Oh yeah, he said he was leaving, going out west." And Arkham's like, "I'm sorry, he left and he told you, but he didn't tell me? What a dick." So at that point, we see Hex is making his way to a train out west. He gets himself onto one of the rooms. He rolls himself a cigarette. And then Arkham walks in. And he's like, "Oh, I did some asking around town and pulled some favors, and I found out that you were taking this train west. I've always wanted to see the west myself, and I know you wouldn't want to go without me. So anyway, let's get going." And at that point, Hex pulls out his gun and says, "You have 10 seconds to get out of here, or I'm going to shoot you in the head." And we see straight up Fresh Prince style, Arkham is thrown off the train with all of his stuff, and he's like, "Oh, this isn't fair. I paid for my ticket. Oh, well, after all we've been through, this is how you leave me?" And one of the guys on the street's like, "Hey, it's okay. You're gonna find love again in this city. Gotham's a great place for love." And Arkham's like, "No, it's nothing like that." And he's like, "Right, sure it isn't. Wink, wink." And then that's the book. So yeah, Arkham is no longer with Hex. We've just thrown him off the train and we're done with them. I gotta say, I feel like this book has been looking for a reason to ditch Arkham this whole time. Like, since maybe the second arc, it's felt like Hex is like, "I don't want him here." And it finally reached a point where I don't think the writers could justify it any longer. So they made sure to make Arkham especially useless in this issue and then just throw him off, which I think it was funny. I think it was well done. If you're attached to the character, it's probably a letdown, but I wasn't that attached, so whatever. Overall, a bit of a letdown in terms of the Vandal Savage story, where it's just, we shot him a few times, it didn't work, and then we shot him and it did work. Okay, I mean, I guess with a shotgun, but still, it seemed a bit weak. So overall, I'm going to give this one I'll give it a 6.5. It's fine. It's not great. You know what? A 7. 7 is, it only gets that extra half point because I do really enjoy the art style in this. And I remember parts of this book where it was basically written in prose, and I'm glad they toned that down. They at least made it so when someone's giving a monologue, they're saying the monologue rather than just the narrator in general. So yeah, I'll give it a 7. It's an okay issue, but it seems like we're making some big shakeups with the next one, so we'll see where that goes.